EFF MP Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi says the incident at the entrance of the Fourways Memorial Park could have been avoided if Lieutenant-Colonel Johannes Venter had simply respected the law. Ndlozi has testified that he felt his rights had been fundamentally violated when he was refused entry into the memorial park to bury Winnie Madikizela Mandela in April 2018. Ndlozi was in the Randburg Magistrate's court today together with EFF leader Julius Malema, who stands accused of assaulting Venter on that day. He says Venter was an unreasonable man who would not have been amenable to de-escalating their disagreement.
He was physical. He was not willing to be conversational. He was physical. The first act of physicality was to grab a car, my car, the car I am in. It will not move. That is his physical language.
Okay.
It will not move by the force of my body.
All right, let's get more on the story. We're joined in studio by SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga. Thanks so much for your time. Just explain to us what happened in court.
Thank you for having me, Nzenga, and good afternoon to the viewers at home. So today was all about EFF Member of Parliament Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's version as to what happened outside the gates of the Fourways Memorial Park on that fateful day in April of 2018. Now, his testimony almost mirrors EFF leader Julius Malema's defense in that they had every right to be at that venue. They had passed all those credentials, all those checks, and that the man that they were dealing with was an instrument of the state. However, he was not cooperating with all the processes that they had complied with. And now when you're dealing with this issue of why physical contact took place, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's testimony also mirrors Malema in that they were acting in self-defense and that the physical acts actually came from Colonel Johannes Venter first when he blocked the vehicle, according to the two. It is their contention that when he blocked the vehicle, that is when they had to emerge from both sides of that V-Class Mercedes-Benz to then pull or push. There's always a bit of a misunderstanding as to what they mean by physical contact, but they state that they pushed him or pulled him to get him away from the vehicle. And once they had moved him away from that vehicle, they were able to access the venue. It is Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's contention that the intention was never to get into a physical altercation at the day, and that Colonel Venter was in violation of their fundamental rights to dignity. They were humiliated, as members of Parliament, and they were not afforded the right to mourn somebody that they say they had a close relationship with. EFF leader Julius Malema has described Winnie Madikizela Mandela as a mother figure to him, and he has explained that to block them from mourning and burying their mother that day was an unthinkable act, which resulted in the self-defense that is seen in the CCTV footage.
What next for that trial?
Well, we understand that arguments will follow. Those will be filed in the form of heads by the end of August. And then in September, that is the 29th of September, the lower court will then make a judgment. So we finally reached finality. It's been about 4 years. This is a common assault case, but it's taken a lengthy period for it to conclude. Julius Malema and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi previously tried to discharge themselves from this case. However, they failed, as the court found that there was a case for them to answer. But now that the court has all the versions of events as to what happened that day, you can expect that judgment will follow on the 29th of September.
Canny Maphanga, SABC News reporter, just giving us an update there on what took place in court. Now, you've said that it is a 4-year process that has taken place. We see that whenever the EFF MPs do appear in court, there appears to be a lot of support outside, a lot of security as well. What was it like today?
Well, today was a bit of a quieter day. We do see sometimes that EFF leader Julius Malema is accompanied by scores of EFF supporters who are there to support them in this case. However, today, because it was a short proceeding and it was bringing the matter to a finality with respect to them taking the stand, there was no stage today. He did give us a bit of a brief saying that they're confident in their defense, that they acted in self-defense that day, and they're confident that the court will make a correct decision as to what occurred on that day. But we do expect that when Judgment Day arrives on the 29th of September, that court will be filled with a sea of red of EFF supporters who will be there for that judgment. So we anticipate that on the 29th of September, and we will see how the court will determine what happened that day, whether it was an assault or whether it was an emotionally charged day, which could have easily been resolved through the principles of Ubuntu. But it will be all in the hands of the lower court to make that decision, Zinga.
Just remind me, was there CCTV footage in this case that's been brought forward?
Correct, Zinga. There was CCTV footage that's been shown throughout, and they've antagonized or looked at every single movement that takes place in that short clip, where you see EFF leader Julius Malema, his co-accused member of parliament Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, at the time he was the EFF spokesperson, as well as Colonel Johannes Venter, as well as several other police officers who get into this bit of a physical contact outside the gates of the Fourways Memorial Park. So it's about trying to get context as to what was happening there and why exactly he's being pushed to an extent that he almost falls against the wall, and at some point he's being held back. At another point, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, as well as EFF leader Julius Malema, are being held back. So that's for the court to determine that in all probabilities, what exactly was happening that day. Was it their intention to physically assault Colonel Venter that day, or was it his intention to block them from entering that memorial and burial site that day?
Canny, thanks so much for that comprehensive wrap. Canny Maphanga, SABC News reporter, giving us an update on the appearance of Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi in court today.